Hi, I'm Eiran Trethowan. How are you today? It's 11:30 on a Monday morning in Melbourne, and I wanted to say hi. I'm going to start to post some more video blogs as opposed to writing. I find what comes to me comes out of my mouth rather than my fingers, although don't mind a bit of typing. So this morning I've been sitting with a few ideas about making excuses for ourselves, making excuses for other people, and living with heart, hope, courage, and love. And I found the one quote that came to me this morning in my thoughts was that no one does anything to you that you don't do to yourself with your thoughts and your beliefs. So, I've done a lot of work in self-development, and the key to anything really is what we believe. Sometimes, though, those beliefs come from very different places rather than just us. And so to get really truthful and in touch with who you are and really know what you value and where you want to come from and what drives you with life, I often consider the concept of self-connection. I also consider the concept of self-development. I also like to consider, ways in which we can enhance the miracles and magic in our own lives, because that's what it's really all about. There's so much stuff in this world that isn't great. But there's so many things that are amazing, and you can wake up every day and walk out your front door, or actually just waking up every day and, owning who you are at that point and just getting clear to be who you really are, I think is the most important thing. So, because, my idea is if I be the best I can be and you can be the best you can be, and we lead with our hearts, it has to change the world. It has to do something. So I want to start sharing that passion with you because I really, really believe it. And I'm open to whatever comes. I think that we need to be open to everything, the good and the bad. There are things in the world that we look at and that aren't great. And, we will spend our time watching terrible news and things that happens. But the only thing that can change the vibration is to change the way we do that, the way we look at those things. There has to be a new place where there's somewhere in us that we can welcome the things that are terrible with love and then turn that around. We all have a fate, and that's true, but we're all, I love Marianne Williamson. She talks about the divine law of compensation, but she talks about the fact that the universe is incredible. Like, it is. It really is incredible. It starts off, she talks about the acorn turns into the tree. Well, it does, but you have the opportunity to be that too. So that's where I come from. That's what I'm about. I start every day, and I'm not perfect. I'm far from it. I think that, God, if I really were, I'm going to be really honest with you, God, there's days it's hard, and there are. But that's another belief. So every time we put a thought into our head, every time a thought comes, it's how we live and deal with that thought that actually moves us forward. And sometimes when we limit ourselves, we miss the heart, we miss the hope, we miss the courage, and we miss the love that's in it, even when it looks bad. So I'm often wanting to look at how we can find your magic. How can we find the magic that is part of who you are and the universe and your connection to each other? Because I wouldn't be who I am today without anyone around me, because you are all mirrors of who I am. So, my objective is to be present and to be in the moment and to share as much as I can of myself with the world with an open heart, because that's what happens. We shut ourselves down. We turn ourselves off. We won't allow ourselves to be this, we want to protect ourselves. Yeah, and I understand stuff happens. We've all had stuff happen where our heart's been crushed and our heart's been broken. You know, I had a man, one of my mentors say something the other day about, you know, Bill Mannell. He's in a constellation facilitator in America, and he was talking about, you know, our heart gets shattered, and it does. It gets shattered. There's days when it shatters more than others, and then we shut it down. We just turn it off. But he actually had this concept where he said, well, what would it be like if instead of shutting it down, you just put it into sanctuary for a little bit? You know, let it heal and let it have the time and space that it needs. And then that way you're still open to what the universe brings. You're still part of that experience, rather than, you know, really we become closed off. We shut ourselves down. You know, we're connecting through internet and Facebook, not unlike this. And I'm not suggesting it's bad or it's good. It's just that if you're using it as a protective mechanism to not really be who you are, then, you know, it becomes dangerous, and becomes dangerous because you will wake up at some point in your life and you will go, what the hell happened? And if I can help and support you to wake up now, so that you wake up and walk away and walk forward and do exactly what you want to do, and release any fear and release any limiting beliefs that stop you, I'm there. I will always be there. And that's where I believe, that's where I wake up and do myself. You know, I hear myself say can't and shouldn't and be and doing and busy and, you know, I haven't got time and, you know, where. You know, I even said that this morning. I was going to start this process, and one of my partners in business, Katie Alexander, who I'm running a retreat with in November, which is going to be radical. It's called a radical retreat. We were chatting on the phone, and I said to her, I really want to do this. I said, I'm going to try and do it today. And then I went, what? Try? Okay, I'm going to do it today. I'm going to share who I am. And that way you get to learn more about me. And in the process, you might want to come over and try some of it out. Or something you may hear may help, may change you. Now, I'm also all for the fact that none of this may be for you. And I leave that with you. Yeah. All I know is that my life has changed because of the processes I've put in place in my life, the way I choose to live it. And it has been changed for the better, like incredibly. So I welcome, and not just better in all aspects. You know, I was in advertising for 20 years. I worked hard. I was very good at what I did. But my heart was it just was missing something. And then I found this work, and it's changed me and who I am. And I believe myself to be in service to the universe. And if I can, you know, support and help someone else, I will. I had experienced a lot of health issues over the years. I had chronic fatigue. I've had thyroid. I was always up and down with my weight. I constantly would have some form of sickness. I worked with bullies, like through and through. I became a bully. That was tough, because to recognize that in myself was really hard. And the biggest bully I was to myself. And that's why I mentioned before about no one does anything to you that you don't do to yourself in your thoughts and beliefs. I became you either internalize it, you externalize it. But I became what I was always doing to myself. And yes, life circumstances put those beliefs in my head, but that doesn't mean they have to stay there. It doesn't mean you have to live that way. You know, your worth and your value and who you are infinite. Nothing changes that. It's only events that happen, things that change it. And then we think we're stuck in that moment. We're stuck there for a good period of time. It's not true. It's completely not true. So thank you for listening to my first video, and I hope to come back after I do my first sitting, and we'll see what happens. We'll see where we go here. I'd love to hear from you. So, as I post this in my blog, on my website and Facebook and other areas where I can, I'd love to hear from you. Whatever way, I'm open. And I'm into collaborating. I'm into making, leading with heart and leading with who I really am. And I hope that you have the courage to do the same. So thanks, and I'll see you soon.